And yes, we are live building a family legacy that raises kings, kingmakers, and those who sit on the table with kings. Building a family legacy that raises kings, kingmakers, and those who sit at the table with kings. Are you ready for today's session? If you're ready, let me see you in the comment section. Say, "I hear, Captain. I hear, I hear." Today is going to be one interesting conversation that we need to have. So we're talking about building family legacy. Last year, we talked about building family legacy. How do you build it and all of that. But this year, we're infusing that when you're going to build a family legacy that raises kings, that raises kingmakers, and those who sit at the table with kings, it's a different conversation altogether. So yes, today we are having this conversation today, and we are going to just run at it and we will move. How do you build a family legacy? Without legacies, families don't last. Hey, who heard that? Without legacies, families don't last. There are no kingship without legacy. For there to be king systems, there has to be legacy. The question will be, are you building the legacy, or do you even know what a family legacy is? Let's go there. Family legacy is not just the things, right? It's not in the things. Family legacy means the accomplishment, the belief system, your actions, the guidance you demonstrate in your life that carry forward the future generation in a fashion that allows those family members to adopt, adapt, and make their life meaningful and fruitful. Who got that? Family legacies mean the accomplishment, the beliefs, the action, the guidance you demonstrate in your life that carry forward the future generation in a fashion which allow those family members to adopt, to adapt them to make their lives meaningful and fruitful. Let me say this to you, and that's the beginning of the conversation we're having today. Your children are not your legacy. I'm going to repeat that. Your children are not your legacy. So everybody in the comment section listening to me, 126 others already. Type in the comment section, my children are not my legacy. You are your own legacy. My children are not my legacy. I am my own legacy. Legacy is you. You are the legacy. The legacy is you. You are the legacy. Now, your children might inherit your legacy. They might receive the responsibility of carrying your legacy forward, but they are not your legacy. They are not. Your children may very well be your highest priority. I get it. Your children can be the center of your universe. I get it. Your children, perhaps, you feel that everything you do for them is because of them. Still, your children are not your legacy. You are your own legacy. I will say that again so that you can actually get it. Your children may inherit your legacy. They may receive the responsibility of carrying your legacy forward, but they are not your legacy. Your children may very well be the center of your life, your highest priority, your all and all. Perhaps everything you do is because of them. I get it, but still, your children are not your legacy. Even if you're a full-time parent, a full-time caregiver, your children are still not your legacy. You are your own legacy. The life you live, the choices you make, and by happenstance is a legacy you will ultimately leave behind. Whatever it is that you do, whether you choose to do it or it is by happenstance, your life is not intentionally created, it's still a legacy. So whether your life is intentionally lived or it is unintentionally lived, you are living a legacy. So your legacy is you. That's why when I hear, inner circle parents say to me, I want my children to make me proud. My dear, what can't you make your own children proud? Why are your children not proud of you? Are your children really proud that you are their parent? These are the conversations. Or are you just in that space where you're just stuck up and you're telling yourself, I want my children to make me proud? Ma, sir, can your children be proud of you also? My intent in life is that I will walk the sands of time. And by the time I leave, the people I have raised will be glad that I were their parent. Will your children be glad that you were their parent? So if you're still in this space where you are, I want my children to make me proud. I want them to be first in class. I want them to, yeah, that means you're lost. You're still living your life by happenstance, however it happens. And that's why when you realize that you are your own legacy, your life changes. Nobody will be telling you, oh, you need to dress a certain way, you need to carry yourself a certain way, you need to do a certain thing. Nobody will tell you that. Nobody will teach you that. On your own, you would understand that, see, I am a legacy, a working legacy. You hear some people, some families. For instance, you see a Bishop Oyedepo. Bishop Oyedepo turned 70 the other day, and I was looking at his life, and I said to myself, who wouldn't be proud to have this father? It's not just about, oh, my children is all that, my children is my life. Oshe, you are your own life, sir. Ma, your children are not your life. You are your own life. So climb down from that table. My children are my all in all. They are my life. They are my retirement plan. They are my legacy. No, they are not. They have their own life to live. They have their own destiny to fulfill. No, their destiny is not your destiny. So your ability to actually create your destiny is your choice. It's your choice. So when these things into your head, you wake up with all sense of responsibility every minute. You wake up with something in you telling you, see, I can't just do things anyhow. You see, the anyhowness is because you don't understand that you are your own legacy. So you begin to actually now become that person your children will be proud of. These are the conversations. And I want to also say this to you. Legacy is much, much more than money is. And that's one thing that we don't always, realize. When we don't say, and my legacy, my this, my that, and all of that, and it's interesting. It's interesting to note that we just think that, oh, all these things is all about, the money I've made and all of that, but your legacy is actually more about your process than it is about your result. The other day, a Yada was talking about this. It's more about the things you put in than your result. So all those results, I have 100 million naira in my bank account, my children will inherit it. Hello? That's not just what they're, that is a part of your legacy. Trust me. But today, you're going to be learning the different, parts of legacies, what they are, how they are, and all of the things that, legacy should be to you. And I want you to read, to take a cue from Proverbs 13:22. I'm going to read a bit about that, right? Proverbs 13, verse 22. And in that scripture, it says, and I read, a good man leaveth inheritance to his children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Now, this inheritance is not just money. This inheritance is not just money. This inheritance are different things. I'm going to be sharing with you seven parts of your legacy you must pay attention to, right? A legacy plan is not just about preparing for your death. Most times, that's what we talk about when we think about a legacy plan. A legacy plan is not just preparing for your death. A legacy plan, that's part of what we wrote in the parenting launch plan. If you don't have a parenting launch plan, you are not a yada. Your authenticity of being a yada is in that launch plan. That's the main thing. That's the journey. That's the implementation process. That's the chronicling of where it is that do you know that your documentation is part of your legacy? We are coming there. We are coming. So a legacy plan is not just how you're preparing for death and what you leave behind. A legacy plan is planning for your life. Let me say that again. A legacy plan is not just about preparing for your death or what you leave behind. A legacy plan is about planning for your life. When you create a legacy plan, it allows you to be intentional, to be purposeful, to be proactive in creating the life that you want to live. So it empowers you to choose your life. It empowers you that instead of drifting from circumstance to circumstance, your life becomes a choice. It empowers you to become intentional. It propels you towards your own happiness, your own human fulfillment. It serves as an example that you are setting for the generations and generations to come. So, in creating a family culture of intentionality and purpose, one of the things that it's about beginning a legacy of succession. So, the key is most definitely communication through our actions and our words. So if your life ultimately serves to empower your children and future generation to define and achieve their own greatest success, if your story is that you choose to live the best life of your life intentionally and purposefully, then your legacy will always live on through your children. At the very least, as a model for success. No matter how much hard work you give to your children, the best education, the vacation, one of the best things that you can give your children, the greatest gift that you can ever gift your children is the blueprint for their own success. Is the blueprint. And that blueprint is your legacy plan. It incorporates your knowledge, it incorporates your values that creates your life, your success. Is that blueprint. Now, you can't escape, the ties of biology and identity that tie you and your partners and all of that, parenting going back generation and all of that. A legacy is about establishing a foundation that endures over time, built on principles that extend beyond wealth. So I'm going to be starting with you to share with you 7 elements of the legacy plan. You're going to start making legacy plans. 7 elements of the legacy plan. And I call it the 7 P's. I like to give you the alphabet so that you can remember it, right? I created it myself. The 7 P's of the legacy plan. If you don't have your cohort members around, go and get them in. This is going to be one of the most transformational things you have ever heard. Number one, platforms. Hey, one of the greatest ways to build and sustain a legacy are platforms. And I'm going to tell you this story. I remember when I was listening to, Daddy Gio, and one of those times, this young man, he had gone for a conference. Him and this young man were in the conference together. And then he was in that space, listening to the young man. Everybody was praying, kabashing, living in the space where, they want to actually become all of that. This young man was playing golf. Like, duh, you guys are praying. I don't need to pray. And he said he was begrudging the man. He was saying in his mind, how can a minister come from this kind of conference? You're not praying, you're not kabashing, you're playing golf and drinking tea. That means he's not even fasting. He said, and then God said to me, that young man, a price has been paid for him. He said, a price by who? He said, his grandfather. His grandfather gave him a platform. So the young man, he said, he now said, God told him, watch it. Watch when he will minister. What is going to happen? He said he stepped into the podium. On the first day, it was this young man's time to minister. The young man stood on the platform and he just opened his mouth, like the Bible will say, and boom, everywhere scattered. People were on the floor, anointing everywhere. He said, my God, somebody paid the price of spiritual emphasis, spiritual muscle for him. He doesn't need to do much. You know the truth. Platforms are opportunities, influence, empowerment for future success. I remember when David Oyedepo Jr. was enthroned to become the resident pastor in Living Faith Church. People begrudged them. People said, oh, what is it? Because he's the father. Oh, if he was not his father, he wouldn't have been able to have the opportunity to walk on top of that platform and become, that person who will now be pastoring one of the biggest churches in the world. Platforms. He stepped in. Hey, somebody paid the price. You are angry. You are angry for nothing. See, when I see those things, what I ask myself is, what platform am I building for my children to step in? What platform are you building for your children to step on while you're not here? Platforms. Platforms. Are your children going to be able to mention your name and they will be able to actually cross hurdles and have access to the king's palace? I remember some time ago, I was actually in a place trying to do my, do something. And somebody saw my son and I said, oh, Logie, you're Professor Logie's daughter. And I said, yes. And that was all. I walked in, jumped the queue. See, it is a standard everywhere. Platforms deliver anywhere in the world. It does. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how angry you are. Platforms deliver anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. I have taught my children never to begrudge platforms. Yeah. I remember one of those days, our daughter would come back and say, there's a very prominent, there are so many prominent, people in the system in their school. And, they will come and tell a story about a particular girl, how the parents will, she has privileges. Is it because her dad is this? Is it because, so one of those days I had a conversation with my children, I say, it is because. It is because. You think it's easy? Nah, it is because. And I gave them a very clear example. My children went to the hospital on their own when we were trying to try them to actually be able to understand opportunities and empathy to go. So they went to a public hospital. While they were there, a yada saw them and just said, that's coach's children now. They jumped all the queues. It is because. I'm sorry, but it is because. And my children started to get it. Teach your children never to begrudge platforms. Yes, it is because. If you are so angry about it, go and create a platform. Because you are your own legacy. So every time I see platforms deliver on a platter of gold to people, I ask myself, can I deliver a platform to my generation? We watch TD Jet give a platform of a women conference that is worth billions into the hands of the daughter. Just like that. And this girl just sat on it. It is because, sir. It is because, ma'am. It is because. Platforms are because. Platforms are because. Right? Platforms are the stages, the opportunities from which future generations can make impact. Stop sitting down with your children and begrudging people who are built platforms and delivered to their generations. Why are you begrudging them? Stop teaching your children bad behavior. As far as I'm concerned, that's serious bad behavior. Why? Why? Let your children learn that they can build platforms that are inheritable. Yes. Access is a thing. Access is built. It is a thing. Teach your children how to build it. So don't sit down and you're gossiping with one, pastor, one man, wanted. And these people are people in angry. Build yourself. Do you know what it takes to build yourself to that point? Even some of us who are begrudging the president, it is because he's the president of a nation. There's something he must have done. It is because. So let that be at the it is because I have paid the price. Don't begrudge people who have built platforms. Don't sit down and ask yourself, what platforms can I build for the next generation? Platforms are one of the 7 elements of building a generational legacy and a legacy for yourself. All right. When you create platform, you give the next generation a place to stand and build their legacy too. And then that part is that your children are not going to start where it is that you started from. I say parenting is war. Where you start is where you finish. Where you stop is where the next generation will start playing from. There are some of us who didn't have the problem of building a house for our parents before we now started growing. No, you can't begrudge us. That was a platform. It is because. So of course, I'm not thinking of how to build a house for my parents before I now start standing. I'm now. Some of us have to carry that load. It is a load. Give your children those loads. Ask yourself, what can I? What can I do? All right. And you must understand that platforms provide the means for your family members to showcase their talents, to contribute to their communities. That's what platform does. Look at everybody who has a platform. Look at everybody who are putting up all of that. The other day I was reading about their woes. And somebody said, Osibanjo, if it's not for their war, how would somebody have been vice president? Hello, it is because you know the price that their wars paid. Yes, Osibanjo is married to an Awolowo's grandchild. That's what platform does. Are you building a platform that even your great-grandchildren, your generations and generations to come, it will be an advantage to them? It empowers you to success. It positions the family members, leadership roles, opportunities, offers them resources and network to thrive. Platforms are networks. Networks. Sometimes it's just the network that they need to thrive that is the most important part. All right? They need to thrive that is the most important part. So one of the things that is very, very key is that you need to begin to look at all of the things that you're doing and look at your platform. What are you delivering? Number two, your process. Your process. Your process. So, yeah, that you now know, create your own platforms, right? And platforms are not anything hard. Sorry, 1 minute. Let me plug. Platforms are not anything hard, right? Platforms are not anything hard. It can be platform of anything. Think about it in where you are. In where you are, what platform can I bring to bear for my children? Number two, process. Number 2P, process, the pathways and the frameworks. That's what process is. The pathways and the frameworks. Legacy is not just about the end result. It's about the process that guide family members through life. These are the systems you create, the habits you build, the routines that promote growth, resilience, consistency. Clear process ensure that each generation can follow a path towards success, towards learning, towards development. There are processes that is created in the system. It ensures continual learning and adaptation. A strong legacy plan includes a process of continued improvement and adaptation. So each generation learns the family's best practices, they adapt it for a time, they ensure the legacy evolves, changing circumstances while staying true to core values. Process. What are your processes? Can you begin to think of your processes? This one was saying, create habits, create system, create routine. You're thinking, oh, we're just doing it for inner circle. You're doing it for your legacy. What your children see is what it is they're going to replicate. And your process will be that process of that legacy. All right? If you can please still hear me, let me be sure that you can hear me and I'm clear. I don't know if my network is having a bit of a shakiness, but okay, I think it's better now, right? It's good. Okay, somebody says it's good. There was a glitch somehow, right? Is it clear? Can you please confirm that it's clear? Switch loud and clear. Okay, loud and clear. Okay, great, great. I had to switch to be sure that I'm here. So process. So what are these processes that we're talking about? A strong legacy includes each generation learns from those best practices. When we're saying create processes, when we're saying create, things to do, that's what we're talking about. You're not doing it for coach. You are not doing it for coach. You are doing it for you. You are doing it for you. It's your legacy that you're building. When people look at you and look at the process that you have, and they are asking, this what's happening? What? It's about the process, not the result, because that is the process that we sustain. Remember that we're talking about the elements of legacy. The sustainability of a legacy is in the process. The sustainability of a legacy in this process. One of the reasons legacies die is because the process is not being created in the way that is followable. The other day I was teaching about followers of them, and I asked the question: Are you the them? Are you the them in your family? Can your children actually look up to you? Are your process, are they predictable? Are your process followable? Can your children look at you and say, this is the process, how my parents created this platform, and I can follow this process and get there? Number 3, pulpit. Pulpit is part of the element of creating a family legacy. Voices and values. Voices are vehicles that transport whatever it is that you need to know into your life or into your generations. What are you listening to? What are the voices that is around? What can your children hear? Pulpits represent that your family shared values, their beliefs, the principles, the things you stand for. It is the why behind the family actions. It's the moral and the ethical foundation that is passed down through stories, through teachings, through lived examples. You are a pulpit. See, you have a pulpit in your house. The problem is, are you using it? One of the processes of sustaining legacy is the pulpit. This is why family values must be communicated, celebrated, that understand that the children understand what it is that you stand for. When I tell you that the inner circle, you are an Ndaposki preacher, your pulpit is part of your legacy. Is your pulpit being manned or your pulpit is empty? Nobody is using it. That's an element of building legacy. You influence through your faith. You influence through your conviction. The pulpit is not about just speaking. It's about living in the way that influences others. That's what a pulpit is. That's what a pulpit is. Our son saw me, recently again and opened my phone and said, now this year is 5 books. Hey, I am challenged. The guy looked at me and said, I'm challenged. I don't need to preach it to him. That's my pulpit. My workings are my pulpit. So this I cannot. I do not know how to do it. All the excuses. Your pulpit is empty. That's the problem. Your pulpit is empty. There are no vehicles transporting whatever it is into the life of your child. So your pulpit is not just about what you are saying. It's about what you're living, your faith, your personal conviction, your ethical living. Your children can see how you live your life. That's why somebody needs to preach to you that you need to wear your clothes and your breast is not sin. You don't understand that you're a pulpit. You don't get it. If you get it, nobody will ever preach that to you. You just understand that it's your working. You're a movie. You become an epistle unto your children. Your children are able to read you. We're just doing my intentional parenting journey now. And Christy said, what is a gray hair without wisdom? Your children are able to, read you. Your children are able to look at and just follow. You will become them. Be ye followers of them who through faith obtain the promise. Are you a them to your children? That's what a pulpit is. Are you a them to your children? Can your children look at you and see an example too hard to chase? Too hard to chase. My daughter that says it, Mommy, you're a moving train, man. As in, all we can do is just run after. I'm not looking for a child to make me proud. I want to make them proud. Because I am my own legacy. That's who you become. Each generation is encouraged to uphold these values. You communicate legacy in positive influence. Your children can read you. And when they read you, they become. Most times when we say, we turned out okay, our parents, most of us cannot read our parents and become. That's the truth. And until you tell yourself those truths, then you can emancipate yourself from this, they did all they could, and emancipate yourself from they've done it, they've passed. You are living your own life, your best life today. Your best life is anchored on the things that you can see the previous generation do that you want to do better. You are on your own legacy. You're your own legacy. The pulpit is not about speaking, it's also about living. Are you a living epistle? When they write an epistle in this generation, will you be part of it? Can your children read you like they wrote the epistles in the Bible? Gospel according to, and they see it as raw, real gospel. That's what we're talking about. You become a pulpit. The other day I was listening to Cosmos Madoka. That's the CEO of Coscharis. And I looked at this guy and I said, what a pulpit. He doesn't need to preach anywhere. He was saying that he was talking to his children about something. And his children were saying, how is it that even your MD, your children drive all the latest car? He's the only this thing to Porsche. He's the one that brings a Porsche to Nigeria. And why can't we have Porsche? The father said, you are not that family. He said, can you watch? Can you see me? That's what a pulpit is. Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you tell your children, can you see me? And in the real tangible term, it's not, can you see me? All those can you see me that we say. Let's quickly move. Number 4, prophecies. Vision for the future. Prophecies are visionary goals. They are dreams that holds the family for future generation. They are set direction. They provide inspiration. They provide hope, a sense of purpose. These prophecies are often the family's hope. You're guiding the family members with a high aim. They think beyond their own lifetimes. That's what it is. There's the prophecy. That's what you can see. You are the creator of a prophecy in your home. Fathers, you are the curator of the prophecies in your home. And that's part of the element of legacies. If there are no prophecies, there are no legacies. If there are no prophecies, there are no legacies. In the Bible, you see that even before the Son of God came for him to actually die for, as Christ, there was a prophecy that went behind. And, you can chronicle it through all of the families that came, and then you can see it in their lineage. There is a process you can see. There is a prophecy of the things that have happened. What's the vision you can see? What can you see? What can you see? What can you see? What can you see about your family? Oh, you're just sitting there. Oh, these children, I don't even know what it is. I've tried everything. Hey, I've been in the inner circle for 10 years. Nothing is changing. Ma, sir, you don't understand legacy. You don't understand legacy. That's why you're still in that place. You're foreseeing the future and preparing. Mary was told that she's going to give birth to a Messiah. It took 30 years to see the Messiahness of Christ. Moses, when he was giving birth, the mother said, this one is the one that will save that people of Israel. I will protect him at all costs. Moses was 80 years. You see all this, my children, you are in a hurry. Legacies are not built in a hurry. Legacy, that's why when people talk about the inner circle is not hit and run. If you're here, I've done 1 year. Hey, I don't even know what it is. It's not hit and run. We're not hitting and running. We're creating systems that will bring families in such a way that the kind of platforms our children will step in years to come, even when we're not there, people will not be able to, they can't understand it, but it will be traceable to something that has been built. What can you see? If you see right, you will not speak wrongly. If you see right, you will never speak wrongly. If you see right, you will never speak wrongly. So it's not easy to run. I want it sharp. I want it now. It's not here. We're not about now. We're not about sharp. We're about we're about years and years to come. That's what we're doing. All right. Legacy includes preparing future generations to fulfill these prophecies. How do you prepare future generations? How did David knew? That was Solomon. Solomon knew that David was going to build a tabernacle for the Lord that he couldn't build. But David knew that Solomon knew that was what was told to the father. If you read the account of Isaac knew, that's a legacy. The instructions that were given to Abraham, Isaac said, and it was told to my father. How did he know? How did he know? because somebody created a prophecy that will be fulfilled even years to come. When you speak hope, you speak purpose into your children, you help them understand potentials, you inspire them to live up to it. Prophecies guide them to take actions and shape into a brighter future. Number five, patterns. Number five, patterns. Established habits. Patterns. Modeling success and character. Patterns are not just about, are just about, the things that you have, the patterns that you can see. Patterns provide stability. Patterns provide continuity. Patterns ground the family in practices. They reinforce their value. They build unity. They help you to maintain a family culture and carry forward customs that give each generation a sense of belonging. That's what patterns does. What are the patterns in your family? Can your children live up to their patterns? Are what create legacies. Modeling success and character and all of the patterns are also about modeling success. They are also the patterns offer tried true approach in handling challenges and seizing opportunities. Patterns, 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 patterns are a thing. Every time that I say to people, when we read the Bible, we say, Jezebel was a very wicked person. So do you know that in the Bible, Atalia was the child of Jezebel? People don't talk about it. Atalia was more wicked than Jezebel was. Patterns. Patterns. Any pattern you create, you increase it in tenfold. This morning was Christy who said, when you plant a seed, you will get a tree. You will get a tree. Bad behavior. Work on your bad behavior. Stop chasing your children. You're creating a pattern. In fact, there is a recent study, there is a research that says that your pattern gets embedded in your DNA. Your pattern get embedded in your DNA, as in to the point that if you lie a lot, that pattern is going to get entrenched in your DNA and can be a trace of it can be found in your children. Your habits and patterns. Your habit and your patterns. So most times we're just doing these things. It doesn't really matter. I'm just focusing on my children. Focus on you. Focus on you. Stop all of this. Hey, my child did. My child didn't. You are the problem. The sixth one are perspectives. Of course, if you hear me, you will hear me. You've heard me say oftentimes that I have the gift of perspective. It is something. Perspective is wisdom. That's what it is. Perspective is wisdom. Perspective is understanding. Legacy is about perspective, the viewpoint, the insight, the understanding that you develop. This perspective, when you share, it helps your generation to make sense of their world and their place in it. There are some thinking my children will never have because of the perspective my husband and I share. I was sharing earlier about, these are conversations that I had in school. Oh, is it because this person's father is this person? That's why they are that perspective. By the time we shared it, our children understand it so well that one of those days they were sharing with one of their friends, and then say, is it because? My children say yes, it's because even our parents have platforms that we're enjoying today. When you have perspective, there are things. There's a way. Is it the way of life? See, I have a perspective of abundance. My children will never have a perspective of scarcity. It is you live it, you transform it. It's part of legacy. Do you know that just having a perspective that you can have abundance changes everything? Who you are, what you do, it changes everything. So part of my legacy, part of the places to chronicle our legacy is our perspective. It's our perspective. And that's why you must work on your emotions. You must deal with your trauma so that your perspectives are not clouded. Most of us have very clouded perspective. We're going to get there. Do you know that relationships are part of your legacies? So if you do not understand it and understand how this actually chronicles into your life, you will use your trauma. My mother said, don't be friends with anybody. They are all evil. And rob your children off of the legacies you should have delivered to them. Perspective is a big deal. Now your children really listen to you and have a different outlook. There are some families you enter, there's an outlook they have. They talk differently. The truth of the matter is that if you watch it, this thing we're saying culture is family dependent. When I got married, my husband was not from, it's not from, my place of tribe, of course. Being that he's Okun and Igbo, when he got into their family, it wasn't about the being not being Igbo. It was about the family culture. I started to study. What is the culture in this home? There is a culture in every home. Don't allow trauma cloud your perspective. Don't allow your lack of emotional intelligence cloud your perspective. Because if they do, you give your children perspective that is blood, and they will live with it. Some of us believe that, oh, there's all these things in Nigeria. Oh, it's only big people that have this. Oh, these people are wicked. This set of people are wicked. Perspective. Hey, perspective. Perspective. It changes everything in you. Your children can make wrong decisions because of lack of the right perspective. Oh, yes, they do. Perspective includes how you handle challenges. Perspective includes how you approach change. Perspective. Challenges are coming like this. We're not everywhere. We're not agitated. Do you think that we're going to have children who are agitated when they have challenges? No, we will not. We have shared a different kind of perspective on what a challenge means and how to handle it. Nobody's jumping everywhere. If somebody is going to go through, a medical procedure in our house, nobody panics. Perspective. Perspective. Don't let your children have a clouded perspective because you haven't dealt with yourself. Since you are your own legacy, build your perspective on, knowledge. Families who value, perspective, foster on adaptability, they are resilient. It helps you to evolve in an ever-changing world. It enriches your legacy by having an open-mindedness, by having, innovation. And number 7 are promises. Promises are commitments and agreement. Promises are commitment family members make to one another, to future generation. It might be the promise to uphold the family values, support each other, contribute to share goals. They are endearing pledges. How many of us have a family pledge? I've talked about that before. How many of us in the inner circle have a family pledge? Pledges that bind the family together. Our children will have a pledge. And that pledge sometimes, like also, of course, which is the pledge. It's a legacy of trust and integrity. It's promises that reflect the family's integrity. They are the sacred agreements that we honor, we build trust in, we respect. There are things that are a no-go area in my house. I don't care what it is, where it is happening. It's a no-go area in my family. It's a commitment to keep this culture of accountability, responsibility. It strengthens the legacy across board. Building a legacy, and you understand these 7 elements, a family can create a strong foundation that endures through time. And then let's talk about legacies. What are legacies? I'm going to be sharing with you the 7 different aspects of legacy that you must build and you must work on as a parent. And all of these parts you will see that it is you. It is you. And we're going to be talking about how you can also build your legacy. Number one legacy. Number 1 legacy is the blessing. The blessing. A legacy starts with the blessing. The blessing that flows from one generation to another. Spiritual, emotional, they are unseen wealth. The morals, the spiritual foundation that empowers each generation to live in peace, joy, confidence. Many cultures emphasize about the blessing. The blessing. Most times when we talk about the blessing, we don't really look at it from a good point of view. What are the blessings? What are the blessings? In the Bible, when you read 2 Timothy 5:1-5, all right, when he was talking about, he said, I'm reminded of your sincere faith, a faith that dwelled first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and now I am sure it dwells in you. The blessing. What are the blessings? Number 1, spoken words. Spoken words are blessings. If you do not understand that words are legacies, you will speak anyhow to your children. You will look at them as anyhow. You will look at them as anything. If you understand the blessing, the words that come out of your mouth will be seasoned with salt. When you understand that the blessing is part of your legacy, how much have you blessed your children? Every day we are in the place where we are talking about, hey, my child did this, he did not do this. Have you even turned your perspective to the fact that your words are legacies? The words you speak. The words you speak. How are you speaking it? What are you saying? Every day, are you saying things that will bless your children on a daily basis? Take it as a challenge today, Yadas. Every day, make sure that you bless your child. Let them hear it. Whether they are old, they are young, or they are unborn. Even if you have an unborn child, tell yourself that I'm going to speak to the life of this child. Your words are too powerful that you do not understand you're part of the creator. You're a co-creator with God. What are you saying? What's cast spell? What spells are you casting on your child? The blessing, the spoken word. If you understand this part of legacy, before you say, hey, my child is too stubborn, my child is this, my child is that, you will calm down and ask yourself, does this bless or does this cause? Yeah. It changes everything in your parenting. Does this bless or does this cause? This thing I'm about to say about my child, does it bless or does it cause? Even when your child have done something wrong, does it bless or does it cause? How does this change me? Does it bless or does it cause? I remember telling you a story of when my brother, according to the story, I told you that story. My brother stole all my mom's fishes because my brother loved to read and he loved to meet, what's it called? Nibble on something while he's reading. He will go up, carry mommy's fish, and then mommy will buy fish in bulk. And one of those days, mommy opened her fish and didn't see any. I never heard my mother say you are a thief. I asked her many years later. I said, why? She said, I understand that my words can either bless or curse. And in that conversation, all my mom said was, this thing that you have done, in fact, remember you will pay me back this fish in 100-fold. My brother sent money yesterday to me to give to my mom. And he said, he's also part of the Mangala fish, right? We laughed about it. Your words, does it bless or does it cause? Even in the middle of a child doing something wrong, if you cannot find yourself seasoned with the words you speak, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Number 2, anointing. Anointing is part of the blessing. Anointing spans over generations. See, when you are anointed for something, your generation is anointed for it. When you are anointed for something, your generation is anointed for it. So if you are anointed as someone who has a gift of prophecy, someone who has a gift of share the word of knowledge, your generation is anointed for it. It's part of the blessing. How are you grooming? What are you doing? How are you doing it? These are part of this. Your blessing is an inheritance to your child. Your anointing is part of your inheritance. Your anointing is part of your inheritance. And then we have empowerment, gift and empowerment. It gives an advantage in a generation. So your blessing, empowerment is part of your blessing. How do you empower your children on a daily basis? How do you empower your children on a daily basis? How do you that's part of the blessing. And when you talk about blessing and the lives of the Jewish families, one of the things that blessings must contain, right? One of the things, I was reading about the blessing, and I saw that a meaningful touch is a key aspect of the blessing. A hug, a hand in the child's head, on the soldier, a meaningful touch. So your blessing must have that in it. Number 2 is spoken message. Now, our children need to hear our blessing. So what is in my heart? I know that they know now. They know that I love him. If your children cannot hear your blessing, they don't know it. They don't know about the blessing. That's the blessing that is transferable. They don't know about it. And then the third part of the blessing that works is attaching high value. We choose words that actually affirm our children individual traits. Our children individual traits, high value. There's a high value in the things that you're saying. That's what the blessing is. And then the next part of the blessing is that it pictures a special future. You affirm good things to come. The blessing always has something to come. There's a special future that you can see in it. And then the last part of the blessing is that you must have an active commitment. You will need to be there to help and support. Legacies are not transferred in absentia. That's why even when you carry an anointing and you are absent, it can be transferred. When you carry the blessing and you are absent, you can be transferred. That the fact that you are anointed, the fact that you are called, the fact that you are blessed doesn't automatically represent the blessing in the life of your children. You must intentionally transfer the legacy of the blessing. So that's why you see men like Nelson Mandela, Nelson Onisha Mandela. And you see Nelson Mandela, and you find out that Nelson Mandela was all that, but there's no transference because he was absent. You can't do it in absentia. All this, I don't have time. I cannot. I don't. And all the stories that you tell. Hello, the legacy part of your parenting is missing. It's missing. So you must be actively committed. Number two, part of your legacy. Number two, what the legacy you must transfer to your children, instructions you follow. Instructions you follow. Every family has a legacy, everyone with a legacy has instructions. They have principles passed down that provide a roadmap for success. These instructions are life lessons. They are family, traditions. They are business principles. There are families where you get in businesses that are done in a certain way. That's the instruction of the family. There's moral guidance. He helps the generation navigate words effectively. I heard from my grandfather, who died at 114, by the way. And he said his grandfather had an ordeal where those days when they need to, put one, to go to a jazz. Of course, there was no God, Christianity then. You will go to do jazz and for someone and all of that. And he had an ordeal that he went to his friends. Somebody stole his yam. And they said, oh, he should go to the Dibia and find out who stole his yam and then place a cost on him and all of that. And then he did. All right. In that time, that was a solution. He did. That was my great grandfather. He did, and it backfired. It was his best friend who actually came to the farm to pick, the yam and was going to tell him in the morning, something like that, something very, painful. But of course, the deed was already done and the best friend died. And there was an instruction. It's a clear instruction in my family. You get it. As you're growing, you will hear, we don't, Ayana Abafa in this family. I said, we don't go to the Dibia. It's prohibited. Like, whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, we don't. You must learn that part of. So, according to what they say, my great grandfather now made a covenant. The day you do, you die. Now, this is on the, extreme part of it. This is on the extreme part of it. You have a family. Of course, we are not held back by whatever it is that our great grandfather have done. Me, I am a new creature in Christ. That doesn't hold me back. Sorry about that. And one of the things that I have learned over the years, all right, about these instructions to follow is that if you don't learn how to follow instructions yourself as a person, as an individual, you will create a system where your children struggle with instructions. You will create a system. So in simple terms, that was just a family. When my dad started to build his own family, he reframed it and he said, we don't do revenge in this family. So we don't revenge. We don't go chasing people who have done out something and are going everywhere, and all of that. We don't. We don't do revenge at all. Instructions to follow. Part of building family legacy is setting clear family standards. There are people that we will not marry. I've said this over and again. If he icks you, you get angry, you're on your own. You're on your own. These are part of the instructions to follow as a legacy in my family. When Manoah, the father of Samson, was giving where Samson must marry, Samson didn't adhere. Part of the downfall of Samson was that. Part of the Samson of, was that. What are the instructions? What are the instructions? What are the instructions that you're following? What are the instructions that your children can still follow? What are they telling me? What is this all about? Your legacy is more about the process and the result. What are these instructions we're talking about? Your values. Your values. Your values are part of the instructions that we're talking about. Apart from your values, you have your philosophy. What's your philosophy about life? Your children are going to follow those things. You will hear some people say, according to my dad. So there was a philosophy my dad had about work. So my father said to us, and we carry it like an embedded mentality on us. My father said to us, and he said, if you find yourself digging the ground, that's why there's nothing we do and we don't do well. If you find yourself digging the ground, leave your PhD, leave wherever you have reached. You are a digger at that point. Have you ever heard me say, I have one PhD in this? I'm a parent coach. That's who I am. It doesn't matter any other thing that is attending issue. Who I am today is parent coach. And my father said that thing many years ago to us. Every single time. I've had two of my brothers, relocate and go through the process of relocation. And my younger brother would say, every time I remember that daddy's philosophy is that when you are a digger, you are a digger. That's who you are. If you are a digger, you are a digger. That's who you are. These are part of philosophies. What philosophies are your children eating from you? These are the philosophies that we're talking about. What can they see? What can they, what is happening in that whole system? When you read, about I was reading something about the blessing recently in Genesis 26, I think 35. And that part said, and he said, thy brother came with subtlety and has taken away thy blessing. It means that the blessing can, the blessing is something you transfer. All right. I just remembered to, put that there so that we don't forget it. Now, there is also your mindset. Your mindset. Your mindset. Your mindset is very important. What is the mindset you have? If you have the mindset of, hey, they are killing me, everybody hates me, that's the mindset your children will have. I grew up with a mindset that nobody can do me jazz. Honestly, that's my father. Nobody can do me and kill me. Is there evil? Yes. But I have a different kind of mindset. I have a different kind of thought process around it. There are evil. People can do bad things. So that you don't see us dwelling, when they now collected our star, they now, if you're not sharing your star enough, somebody else will collect it. That's my father's philosophy. That's his mindset. The stories you tell, that's part of your legacy. Stories you tell. Does your story color? That's why I said, see, if you do not deal with your trauma, your perspective will be clouded with nonsense. You will pass rubbish to your children. Normalize nonsense. Just like many of our parents passed to us. Normalize nonsense. Clouded with trauma. If I live with my mom and I leave her trauma, the truth of the matter is that I'm not going to have any relationship with anybody. I'm not going. That's clouded. I would have been clouded with that trauma. But I dealt with it. I dealt with it. So nobody ties me to anything. Nobody can tie me down. My dad will say, your responsibility is for your life. If you're not doing well, you are the cause. Nobody is. And it changed something in me growing up. I've never believed that anybody is the cause of my problem. I'm the cause of my problem. That's why I can't blame any child. That's why I cannot sit there and say, it's because of my children. They are the one making me. I'm taking responsibility for every aspect of my life. Every single aspect. The next one are the skills you build. What skills you have? The fact that you have 1-2 skills can actually get your children to even, that becomes a legacy. The planning. And this is very important. All right. The next one, and let me also say that part of this, all right, instructions to follow is your documentation. So I was privileged to go to the Buckingham Palace, all right, where and I went to the Windsor Castle, where I went through all of the tour to see the Queen Elizabeth's system and all of that. I like the kingship system, and I saw documentation. Part of the legacy that is traded today. What are we watching? What do you go to Windsor Castle to see? Hello. You just go to see a documented process of someone's family. That's documented process of someone's family legacy. That's what we go to see. I don't know what else to go to see. And I said to myself, can people walk through? I finished living in this earth. And from generation to generation and generation to come. And they are able to walk through to see my documentation, to learn about it. Documentation, yeah, that's why you have the parenting launch plan. If you don't have a parenting launch plan, I'm not your coach. I am not. I don't know you. That's your documentation process. That's what your children will pick up and say, my mother, my father did parenting this way. My mother, my father did parenting this way. It become an episode, it become an epitome of something that you can look at. What are you documenting? The next one is strategic relationships. In 2 Samuel 9, verse 1, it says, David was looking for anybody in the house of Saul to bless. Strategic relationships. Strategic relationships. 2 Samuel 9, 1, David was looking for anybody in the house of Saul to bless for Jonathan's sake. Our children must benefit from our relationships. Are your relationships beneficial to your children? Or are they just anyhow? I just want to be friends with this person. That's what we are talking about. If you begin to think legacy, you begin to think about the network of influence, you begin to think about the collaboration. What do they do in your life? Strategic relationships. What covenant relationships are you building that will benefit your children in years and years to come? I was watching Mama Benson Idahosa, right? Margaret Idahosa, share about her journey with Bishop David Oyedepo. After that, such a strategic relationship. Archbishop Benson Idahosa have been dead for like God knows how long. But Bishop Oyedepo is still, the children have benefited from that relationship. The wife had benefited from that relationship. When he died, there was no money to pay the staff of Benson Idahosa University. Bishop Oyedepo paid the staff for 5 years. As in back to back, no noise. Do you have that kind of strategic relationship? I call it strategic covenant. That even if you're not there, David went to Saul's house, but because of Jonathan. Strategic relationships they are vital part of your family legacy. Do you know why the people at the top do these things seamlessly? It's because they understand the strategies that needs to connect. People say, the rich people don't want to be friends with the poor people. How? You don't get it. So stop begrudging. Because you understand strategy. You understand that I'm building a strategic relationship. That's why you see one person at that level fly mouth in a way, come and attend the birthday party. I'm like, just the birthday they came. Strategic relationship. Hey, you build it so that your children can inherit it. If your relationship is not inheritable, then you need to actually begin to build them. How many relationships do you have that can be inherited by your children? How many? You must have a minimum of one. Minimum. That's one relationship that if you're not here today, you're gone. You will know that I'm just good. My friend will be looking for who to bless in my house. Strategic relationships. These are connections that open doors, provide guidance, create opportunities. They are relationships built on trust, shared values, mutual benefit. You need to begin to help your children connect. That's why, connect your children to mentors, to advisors, to influential friends who can support them throughout their lives. Connect yourself to mentors. Part of your strategic relationship is mentoring. That's a key aspect of your spirituality, and your children inherit it. What do you think happened in Benson Idahosa's case with Bishop Oyedepo? Benson Idahosa was Bishop Oyedepo's mentor. Look at how much inheritance that translated in the family, translated in the family of the Idahosa. Benson Idahosa is long gone, long gone, long gone. Strategic relationships. What strategic are you putting up there? That's why when people say, I want you to mentor me, from me, mentorship is a covenant trail. That's why I said, I know they do. I'm not interested in being everybody's mentor. It's a covenant trail. It's inheritable. It's inheritable by your children. By your children. That's why you should think it very well. That's why you should think it very well. And it's part of your strategic relationship. So think it properly and say this is one of the things. This is one of the things that's going to actually become transferable. Transferable. What relationships do you have? Do you have influential friends who can support your children even through life, or even you? Somebody wrote on social media one time. She said, I grew up in a family where my dad had 4 friends who were very close to him. And he called their system the table. He said, my dad will eventually die. And yet, I went through Covenant University. Those 3 men ensured that I went through the process. She said, there was nothing I lacked my father could provide that I could say. And she said, that was my definition of understanding inheritable relationships. That's part of your legacy. Do you have friends who will be looking to bless anybody in your home just because they're your friend? And let me say this a bit before we move on. Apart from money, there are 7 other types of currencies, and relationship is one of them. Let me name those 7 others, type of currencies, so that it will help you. All right, it will help you to also be able to look out for those things. Number 1 is time. Time is an invaluable currency because it's limited and it's irreplaceable. So when you invest time wisely in relationships, in activities, and learning, it profits you. It's a currency. Number 2 is knowledge. Knowledge and skills are powerful currencies. They open door. They make you valuable. They become something that creates opportunities. They help you to build credibility. You begin to learn continuously. You begin to share expertise. It opens doors for you. It gives you a currency. You don't want to know how much access I have just because I have the knowledge that I have. I have access to thousands of people. Come on. That's a currency. I don't need money, really. I've gotten to a place where I recognize that I don't need money as just part of the. If I have all the other 7, trust me, I don't blow. I'm a very wealthy person. Not about the cash that I have, but about the things, the systems that I've been able to, create, have access to. The next one is relationship, social capital, relationship, the network. They hold immune, value, immense value. You build a natural connection. It leads to support, collaboration, share resources, relationships that you have, that you can stand in a place and you can do like this, and you just command things to happen just because you have built relationship with people. And then the next one is energy, both physical and emotional energy. It affects how you effectively work, interact with people, use your energy, and all of that. Energy is a currency. So if you're not building your energy, you're doing yourself a disservice. You don't want to know how much energy can actually give you access to the things of life. All right. And then number 5 is attention. Attention. What you focus on grow. Your attention is invaluable. That's why when I see you jump from one free activity to a free webinar, a free webinar is a time waster. I keep saying it because it doesn't help you create systems that will help you to actually get to where you're going. Remember, the idea is to put into your process the systems and create where it is that you're going. Most times we don't have that because when you are in that place, you have this mentality of, I can or I cannot, it's free, it doesn't matter. It's a waste of your time, but you don't know it. So attention is a big value. Attention is a big currency. What are you paying attention to? It's where you direct your attention that influences your productivity, your relationships, your experiences. When you give full attention, when you give full attention, It actually helps you to begin to see, causes you to make meaningful impact. That's why I said focus. One of the most single thing that can bring about success in your life is focus. When you focus on one thing, yeah, that I've been saying this for years. Focus on the inner circle. You're not here by error. Focus. Put your energy, your attention. Listen to both the things that are spoken and the things that are not spoken. Focus. If you can achieve focus as a currency, you can achieve paying attention to the right thing as a currency, your life will change 360 degrees. If you can't get it, you see, it is what you're paying. You're paying attention here, you're paying attention there, you are everywhere. You're not going to actually reach the apex. There's a currency that can buy for you that you cannot access ever. There's a currency attention buys for you. You can be successful, yes, but there's a currency attention buys for you. The next one, the sixth one is creativity. Do you know creativity that is a value? Hey, creativity is a currency that brings you unique ideas. They're the things that help you to solve problems. They're the things that help you to innovate. It adds value. When you are creative, it gives you new opportunities. You can begin to trade your value via creativity. So more than money, creativity. More than money, creativity is the core of that your value system you're building. So whenever you say, oh no, I want to build wealth, I want to do and all of that, currency, do you have the currency of creativity? Money is the least of the currencies, because money is the things that happen when you are able to actually hit on these seven currencies. And the last one is reputation, your trust. A good reputation is a form of currency. It can lead to influence, opportunities. The fact that you have a certain kind of reputation, and that's why a good name actually, comes from the legacy. You have a certain kind of people trust you with a lot of things. Create you. Stop all this jumping from one corner to another. Focus on you. When you build credibility, when you build credibility, you will assess wonders. When you build credibility, you assess wonders. Stop dispersing your energy everywhere. Focus. Focus. When you focus, everything changes. And if you have a single eye, that's what the Bible said. If you have a single eye, you're going to, this they are here. You're everywhere. Here, I want to try this one. I want to try this one. You can't achieve. There are some things you can never achieve. Each of these currencies can be invested. It can be spent. They can be depleted. And when you use them intentionally, you don't just create a prosperous life. You create life in abundance. If you are able to get this secret, your life will change. Let's go on. The next kind of legacy you must leave for your children is a good name. I like this quote by William Shakespeare. I like the quote that he says, good name in man and woman, dear my Lord, is the immediate jewel of their souls. Who steals my time, my pursuit, steals trash, right? Who steals my purse, steals trash. It's something, nothing. It was mine. It's now his. It's been slave to thousands. But he who fletches from me my good name robs me of that which not enriches him, but makes me poor indeed. But makes me poor indeed. That's William Shakespeare. A good name. People can steal anything from you. My biggest currency is my good name. It's a currency for me. A currency of my reputation. It's my good name. When I got married, I met Professor Ologi. Professor Kingsley Ologi is my father-in-law. And one of the things that happened to him, is part of his book. One of his books that he wrote, and after he had issues in Uni Abuja, where he was framed that he wanted to take over from the VC, and the students liked him and all of that. So he was sacked. After he was sacked, he had opportunities to leave the country, opportunities to go elsewhere, blah blah blah. Remember that he's a man. He's been in teaching for so long. He's been a professor for so long. He was from ABU. He came to start in Abuja. with a team of professors. He started many schools. He created the framework for Governor University, created a framework, part of it, for Open University. He's a man of honor. And his name was going to be trashed. He was sacked. Somebody who has never received a query in his life was sacked. And then he said, one of the things that kept me was that I can be robbed off of everything. But you see my good name? No, it shall not be robbed off of me. He decided, I will fight to the last to get my name out for it to shine again. He stayed. He stayed for years. His name was cleared. He was reinstated into the University of Abuja system. He was given OON after that. He was, he said, that is my greatest achievement in my life. Clearing my good name. Clearing my good name. Clearing my good name. What name are you building? And that name, I can tell you for free, have opened doors for me. Is a legacy. I remember my first job, after I had worked in the hospital in the lab for 1 year. And, I don't like hospital work. I don't like core hospital practice. And I remember that walking into Federal Medical Center, Ore, my uncle, who was late, Dr. Osti, as he was called, right, had been in that space. He had died before I even went there to, look for a job. I had an interview with the MD. As I was stepping in, the MD said, "You are Nonyenezi?" I said, "Yes." "Do you know Dr. Osi?" I said, "Yes, he's my uncle." He said, "There's no interview. Give her a chair, an access, free access just by someone's name. Reputation and integrity. A good name is one of the most valuable legacies you can leave behind. It is earned through honesty, integrity, and consistent behavior. There's nobody I can go to and I say I need 100 million naira, and I have this that will say, I don't trust you, coach. Are you sure? It's impossible. I have created credibility through my consistent character, through my honesty. It opens doors. It builds trust. A good name means that the future generation can benefit from the credibility you have established by your foreparents. When you listen to the story of Coach Charity, he built his business on a good name. Character. That's what he built his business. Trust is a currency in many ways. Reputation forms the social and professional currency. A good name enhances opportunities, even for your business, even for your partnership, even for your personal relationship. It is said that a good name is better than riches because it can bring rewards that money cannot buy. Credibility, loyalty, influence, a good name. The next one is a parenting advantage. A parenting advantage is a legacy. Of course, I shared with you how platforms can change your life. Who raised you is a legacy to inherit. Who raised you is a legacy to inherit. Who raised you? You inherit it, whether positive legacy or negative. Now, parenting advantage is in two folds. Intentional parenting, generational wisdom. The way you raise your children is key to your legacy. By giving them the tools to think critically, to make good decisions, live purposely, you create a lasting parenting advantage. It's about focusing on teaching values, modeling strong leadership, nurturing individual gifts. It's about generational wisdom. This advantage comes through passing down parenting strategies, wisdom, not stories, not spanking, not hitting, not shouting. Parenting advantage is not I want my children to be disciplined. No. Parenting advantage is about you being disciplined. It's about you becoming. It's about you becoming a generational child. That's what a parenting advantage is. That's the legacy. That's the legacy. The kind of wisdom that will be said that in this generation, this woman stayed. In this generation, this man lived. It ensures that in that generation doesn't just have to reinvent the wheel. That's what parenting advantage is. They just follow. When you look at the king system, remember that this is a legacy that raises kings, that kingmakers, and those who sit at the table with kings. When you look at the system, you begin to realize that generational wisdom is a core. Nobody reinvents the wheel. There is a core. There is a parenting advantage that's already laid up there. So you build on the parenting principles. You didn't revert, you build on it that your ancestors have built. Parenting advantage includes teaching. the act of resilience, self-discipline, emotional intelligence. You just build on it. You just build on it. In the king's palace, they just build. Okay, this another generation have come. Can we do this again? Look at the times of the Bible. You see that in moment of king, just nobody reinvented the wheel. They just changed strategies. They just changed strategies. That's it. So this is so important. Generational wisdom is part of your legacy. All right. And of course, let's now go to the last two, which we actually think, that's the main thing. Tangible inheritance. Tangible inheritance, material wealth. Material wealth. Tangible inheritance refers to the financial resources, the assets, the properties that you pass down. It will include the business investments, real estate, material wealth that give the next generation financial head start. It's critical that this inheritance is built thoughtfully and managed wisely so that it can grow and continue to benefit your children. The Bible says a good father leaveth inheritance. Part of the inheritance is the tangibility, wealth with purpose. Wealth with purpose. Wealth with purpose. This is very important. Tangible inheritance is not just about passing down riches. Let me say that. It's not just about passing down riches. It's about giving future generation the means to sustain and expand family wealth. So wealth should be paired, must be paired with financial literacy and a strong value system, which is what is, ensure that it's used wisely and it doesn't lead to entitlement and recklessness. That's the only way you can sustain tangible inheritance. So you want to ask yourself today, the tangible inheritance that I have, can my children really sustain it with what it is that I'm building currently? That's why the curriculum of 2025, we're hitting hard on financial literacy. You can't build wealth and leave it for your children, for them to just, walk and just put everything out, everywhere. And it happens all the time. That's why you see my Igbo brother create wealth that is not transferable. And it's not transferable to their children, but it's transferable to the one boy. And I've said this before. Wealth is never lost. Wealth gets transferred all the time. The problem will be, who is it getting transferred to? Who is it getting transferred to? So when you have tangible inheritance, you must back it up with financial literacy and a good moral and value system. If not, you lose that inheritance to other people. So the one boy is the one that is trained. The one boy is the one that is giving financial literacy. The one boy is the one that is giving all of the things. So when the father, dies, the children have access to billions of naira. They can't manage it. What do you think happens? Financial literacy is actually the tangible wealth. So the one boy is able to create, remember, now part of your currency is strategic relationships. The children do not know who one boy knows, but one boy knows everybody. Where they bring goods from China, where they expand the groups, where they get the goods from. But of course, your children were up out there, getting, you're sponsoring them abroad, teaching them all of that, but they don't have financial literacy. So when they get that money, they just go off. Can your children maintain the legacy when you transfer it to them? So we've expanded. That's one of the books we're reading in 2025 is that, Raising Financially Literate Children by, Chukwemeka Onyenezi. And we are going to break it down. We're going to break it down into webinar upon webinar. You know how we do it? So that you can begin to equip. And I've seen a lot of people I grew up in a place where, a lot of our neighbors had properties and all of that. Every single one of those properties are sold. Not one remaining. Do you know who bought them? The people who had financial literacy and had moral compass. Some of them were bought by the one boy of the parents. So it is important that you begin to look beyond tangible wealth. Yes, we all want to transfer tangible wealth. How is the question? So that we don't lose family legacies. So we don't lose generational legacies. Wealth is never transferred. When it's now lost, wealth is transferred. Who is it being transferred to? So wealth is not money. Money is the product of all of these currencies put together. And then, if you transfer only money to your children, you have done them a disservice. you have done them a disservice. So while you are going to make tangible inheritances, real estate, business investment, you're making it. Children are schooling abroad, no financial literacy. They don't understand what's happening. They don't understand what it is that is giving. And you're saying, when I just die, you just have, they will sell the property one after the other without you being there. And then the generational system gets lost. Why is it that we don't have generational wealth in Nigeria? We can't chronicle from one generation to another what the generational wealth looks like. It's just a few families that you can hear. What happened to the Zigs? Where are they? These are systems that should be sustained. They shouldn't die. But because it is what it is, it is what it is, then of course the children couldn't get it. See people like them now, that's great. People like, look at how the generation, you are not able to pass it. How are children being fortified, being built to occupy those spaces? It is one thing to give your children access to the king's table. It's another thing to give them what will get them to sit permanently inside that table. Remember, access to the king's table is very easy. It's the sustainability. It is the sustainability of that access that you should give your children. So it's okay. And when you don't do this part of your parenting, your legacy, you can give them access to everything strategic. Your children can make a mess of your strategic relationship. Yeah. You will transfer strategic relationships. You will transfer it. And you see your children make a mess of it. You are gone. You wouldn't know. So they can't sustain it. How do you teach them to sustain these legacies we're talking about? So legacies have a sustainable formula. And I'm going to, run through that. Of course, the last one is material and substance, relation. Physical legacy. It includes everything material, possession, heirlooms, homes. Physical legacies help to ground the family in history, in identity. That's one thing that the first family in Britain has. Physical legacies, substantial investment in education, in development. Material legacies are more than money and properties. All right. Of course, we're talking about investment in personal development. That's the substance. Investment in personal development, investment in mentorship, investment in education. These are all part of legacies. These are substantial assets that can equip the future generation with skills, with knowledge that they need. That's why if you're still in the place where you're saying, I don't know, I am paying for my children, it's so expensive. Can I be in this place? Can I pay for girls? Can I pay for boys? That's part of your legacy. That's how you can sustain this material thing. That's how you can build them to sustain it. That's how you can build them to sustain it. If not, you will not be able to actually sustain your children. You will pass it on, you'll be dead, and it dies. Go and do your lessons, your statistics. Find out how many families have been able to sustain generational wealth more than one generation. Most of us are first-time, generational wealth creators. Most of us are first-time generational wealth creators. It can't be sustained. Why? Because you do not understand the material and the substance part all put together. How do you build family legacy? Let me run. Have you ever thought about how much your children and your grandchildren actually know about life? It may be surprising to learn that many of us have very little knowledge about the lives of our grandparents, what we knew about them. According to survey, when you go to ancestry.com, one in three adults cannot name any of their great-grandparents. So passing on stories, traditions on your children, grandchildren, not only helps to preserve legacy, also teaches them from valuable life lessons. Today, go and find out who is your great-grandfather. Who are they? What are the things that you can hear? How are they, talking about? I talked about stories. I've never grown up to see or to learn that women are in the kitchen. Sometimes when I hear those things, I'm like, who are these people? I remember my brother, was watching him teach in the University of Maryland. I went to the US to spend some time with him. And I went to the class, he was teaching them about subjugation. And he said, I do not understand female subjugation. The women in my family are powerful women. My grandmother left hectares of land that is a whole community land, community village land, as in the whole village, the whole town. Now she owned my great-grandmother. That was in court for many years. And then my family won. I have a portion of that land. I'm a great-grandchild. Come on now. That's what we're talking about. So I do not understand subjugation of women. I don't get it. A woman is subjugated. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. So one of the things that you want to actually do is to begin to look at where are you coming from. That's a good place. If you see the errors in the process of where you're coming from, feel it. Remember that I said that your legacy is more about your process than your result. If you feel the error of where it is you're coming from, feel it. It's your job to feel it. And part of your job is to actually be able to deal with it and be able to actually begin to chronicle down. So, I have seen that, okay, I grew up in a place where my mom didn't understand mentorship, didn't have mentorship. What is it that happened to her? How is it? I fixed it. Stop chronicling excuses. They don't give result. Fix it. That's why you must study your ancestors. Who do you want? What do you want to actually live like? Number two, focus on you. The first step to expressing your legacy to your children is to focus on yourself and identify your legacy. Consider what you want to leave behind. What impact do you want? What impact do you want your family to feel? Think broadly on how you define success. What challenges do you and your family have? What have you faced? What tools have you equipped yourself at different times? What are the errors that you can see? What are the foundations that you've laid? Who are you? That's the question of legacy. That's where it starts. Number three way to build legacy is documentation. Write down your family traditions, write down your family stories, write down your family victories, write down your family histories, bring family photos, chronicle it, who is who, start a family tree, document your process, document your parenting journey, write a book. One of the things I've seen. So writing the book is not it's not even for public consumption. I'm writing a book on our family history. It's not going to be sold. It is so that when you get married in my house, right? My husband and I, it's going to be a book between my husband and I. We will give you a book and say, here you have it. This is our family documented. If we are gone, here you have it. This is our family documented. And I give our children the liberty to update it, to reframe it, to do what it is that they need to do. That's as we are gone. I want to document our process. I don't want to be, hey, you know who we are. Before you even come, our children will give you that book. See, this is the kind of family you're coming into. Book, read. When you are done reading, it's going to be part of the interview process of your cutting. When you are done reading, you will say, okay, I understand the things that are required for me to be part of this family. My family is not an anyhow place. It's a family of royalty. And if I'm going to build a family of royalty, then I'm going to chronicle it in a way that every Tom, Dick, and Harry understands where it is. So I'm not going to be, no, anybody is not going to just be anyhow and just enter, no, but just anyhow and all of that. You will enter, very demure, very intentional. If you're coming, when you finish reading the book, then you can have a conversation. You can have a conversation. No documentation. Write a book about your family. Chronicle it. Put it together. Don't assume things. Don't just live in that place where I did the way my children are just bringing it. Your children even know that's the family we come from. Let me please give you read. Can you really be part of this family? It's a choice. It's a choice. And every year, our children will look at it, review they will have a manuscript, review it, and say these are the things we need to expand. These are the things we need to add. Because our family is created for fulfillment of prophecy. It's not created for fun. There's a prophecy on the head of my family. And because of that, we're not doing things anyhow. No, we are not. And it's not because of you, not because of inner circle parents. It is because of us. And that's why we're walking the journey. And then the last one, create family identity. Create an identity. Create an identity. Your family mission, your family vision, your family meetings, those are your identities. Those are your identities. Your children will know who you are. Your children will know who they are. They are identified. There was a conversation with our son, and and he was saying something to the dad. And the dad said, but that's not who we are. And the son looked at him and said, yes, dad. Yes, dad. That's not who we are. And he said, yes, dad, that's not who we are. Let there be an identity. Your children will be separated. And it's okay to stand out, stand alone. It's fine. Create an identity that fires them up. Have regular family meetings. Some of us have not had family. That family meeting, we've not had it since the first month. Hey, I don't know. My children, I don't have time. How do you invade in them? How do they see who they are for who they are? How do they say it? Every single one of our process is part of your legacy. If you are in the inner circle, you're building a legacy. Every legacy, everyone leaves a legacy. Let me conclude by saying this. Everyone leaves a legacy, either by default or by design. It starts with a vision as an individual, connected to a bigger story and the purpose for a family. That vision is what spurs us to work hard on planning, on communicating it, on the things we need to do. But you leave a legacy, whether you want it or not. It's either you design to leave a legacy or you default to leave a legacy. Choose ye this day whether you will leave a legacy by default or by design. Will your legacy be chronicled intentionally, or will your legacy be stumbled on by happenstance? What legacy? What legacy are you building? And don't forget, legacies are not hidden. Legacies are not hit and run. And like I said, told the others last year, the intentional parenting inner circle program is a legacy you can bequeath to your children. Hit and run. Stop hitting and running. Stop being all over the place. Stop complaining everywhere. Build you. You are the biggest person, biggest thing in the circle of legacy. Whether you like it or not, legacies happen every day. Our parents left a legacy for us. Some of them are by default. Most of them are by default. Very few of them are by design. Very few. And I'm sure it won't be up to 1%. It will not be up to 1%. Are you leaving a legacy by design or by default? Sit down today. Choose you this day where you will go from. And ask yourself, what will I do now to change the trajectory of my life so that I can leave a legacy by design? Build you. Stop chasing shadow. You are not here for everybody. You are here for you to fulfill a destiny in your life, to fulfill a destiny, a prophecy in the system of your family. Chase it like your life depends on it. And you're here, you're listening to me. Trust me, this inner circle program is part of your legacy. Whether you want to hear it, believe it or not, or you want to get angry about it, I know, I heard it and I'm telling it to you. It's part of your legacy. Build it. Your life depends on it. Focus and build it. As you're coming back for Inner Circle 2025, people also are already seated. Come back and continue to build your life. All this hit and run. I know I'll be there, and then you will end up with happenstance. You will end up living a legacy by default. Who will you become to your child? Thank you very much, Inner Circle parents. I have particularly enjoyed myself sharing this today. And I want you to pick one thing you're going to run. You're going to run from. I'm going to run with. What are you going to run with today? What are you going to run with? What are you going to do? And if you're listening to me, you have not already registered to be part of the Inner Circle in 2025, this is your cue. Go and find yourself, register and get seated. And get seated. One of those days, I told somebody, I said, you'll be asked to how you dropped out of the way of the building that they are trying to build. You are not in the half of the way. God will ask you, build it because there is a reason why you are called to shine your light, because of the shine of light, because of the generations that will look upon you. What will they look at when they look at you? Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Bini Yadas. Are you ready? I see you tomorrow, Bini Yadas. I cannot wait to be with you. And it's so exciting, really, to actually be here. I will be in Benin tomorrow for TIP Summit Benin. Let them come and listen. It's going to be a deliverance session, and I cannot wait to see you all there. See you in the yard, and don't forget, if you're not already seated in your cohort, go and do the needful and get seated. We are here for a long haul. We are not here to romanticize anything. We are not here to do no. We're here for a long haul. Make up your mind. Is it that you are in or you're not in? You're here for a long haul, and we're going to actually be in here for a very long time. Thank you and have an amazing day.
everyone. Are you a parent, a teacher, or a school owner in Edo or its neighboring states?
Are you overwhelmed with the task of parenting, or you are still struggling to understand your pupils?
Hey, are you looking for effective ways to nurture the growth and well-being of your child?
Join us at the Intentional Parents Summit as the ancient city of Benin welcomes the #1 parents coach in Africa, Coach Wendy Oloye, and 5 other seasoned coaches.
On the 19th of October 2024, at the Unusual Conference Center, JBS Estate, up Boundary and Sapler Road, GRA, Benin City.
Discover practical strategies to strengthen parent-to-child bond, foster resilience, and build confidence.
With a team of expert guidance, you will gain valuable insights and tools to empower your parenting journey.
Remember, date is this Saturday, 19th October 2024. Time 10 a.m. See you there.
Join the conversation and unlock your parenting potentials.
Let's build strong families together. See you there.
Birmingham, are you ready? On the 26th of October, Coach Wendy is coming to Birmingham.
So what can you expect? Parenting insights that will help revolutionize your approach. Mindset shifts that will help you raise confident and empowered kids. Support and encouragement from a community of like-minded parents. You don't want to miss it.
It's a networking opportunity within a thriving parenting community. And it's also a place where you get real-life examples and solutions to your parenting roadblocks. It's going to be a judgment-free zone where you're open to discuss all your parenting concerns. And it's an opportunity to learn and to be impacted by a world-class parent coach.
It's going to be amazing, insightful, and life-transforming.
Coach Wendy, Coach Kunle, and Coach Ebuka will be speaking to us on this day conference. You don't want to miss it.
Come and receive skills, tools, strategies that will help you in your parenting.
To register, use the link on the screen or scan the barcode to pay the fee of £53.
Arrival time is 9:15 British Standard Time.
I will certainly be there.
I will be there.
10,000 copies of these books pre-ordered already. Have you been able to pre-order my latest books? Raising the boy you don't need to bail out, Raising the girl with sense, Raising the trophy child is congratulations, celebrations, and challenges, the parenting advantage, and sex educate your child like a pro volume 4. These are all my latest books, and for 28,000 naira, you can get all of this bundle instead of paying a 40,000 naira, a whooping 12,000 naira discount. If you're buying individual copies, you would pre-order them at 6,000 naira each copy. You'll still be spending or saving some 2,000 naira to it. Join us now to be part of the people who are revolutionizing parenting. These books will save your life.